Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
And welcome to Opinion versus Opinion. I'm a little rusty. I haven't hit the board in 2 weeks, and I already forgot all the buttons that Jonathan programmed for me so nicely. If you ever get to see our board, you see we have these really neat looking lights and all this neat stuff. And you'd think an idiot like me would be able to figure it out, but it didn't happen. So I want to welcome you. Thank you very much for watching Opinion versus Opinion. This is Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV News 44. I'm here today with my best friend in life, Jonathan. Where's Jonathan? Let's get Jonathan in here. We had Jonathan, we lost Jonathan. There he is.
Would you stop pushing buttons? Dear God, man.
I like it. Anyway, we're here today with Jonathan Charney, and I'm Rob Charney on Old Guy Tech TV and News 44 TV. John Majestic will not be joining us today. He's in Los Angeles at a friend's birthday party. Mr. Neumeister, happy birthday to you, and thank you all for watching and taking the time to watch News 44 TV. So today we've got a few headlines that we want to talk about and a few things that are going on in the world that I thought was pretty important. I know that if you've been watching CNN at all or any of the others, you realize that Egypt is burning. There has been a military coup, and Morsi is out supposedly, and the military has taken over in Egypt.
So weren't they in charge before? I mean, were they kicked out the last guy?
Yeah, well, this guy was supposedly actually elected, voted in. Something's gone wrong there, but anytime you have the Muslim Brotherhood involved with anything, who knows what's going on? And I wonder if our wonderful President Obama is still going to sell all those F-16s to Egypt now. What do you think? Do you guys out there think that that's going to happen?
I don't see Barry changing his mind.
Well, he's got to. I mean, you know, there's nobody in control of that country. How can you sell fighter jets to a country?
Well, if you're going to sell to the Syrian rebels, aka Al Qaeda, why wouldn't he not sell to Egypt?
What?
The Syrian rebels.
The Syrian rebels
are Al Qaeda. They found, one of the things I've heard is they realized some of the Syrian rebels are actually Al Qaeda. So we're in Syria. There's potential that we're going to be fighting side by side with Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda, however you say that.
Al Qaeda, yeah, I don't know. Well, okay, so the situation in Syria, where Obama did say that there is a possibility that we will be putting boots on the ground if they used gas, which they did. And as far as I know now, it was another empty threat by Obama because we didn't put boots on the ground.
Would that be a third or fourth theater we're in at the moment?
Too many. Wherever we're at, we need to get out. So this is ridiculous. But anyway, so keep watching. Even though Morsi says he's still president, the coup apparently has happened. So we'll see what happens with Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood, and if we end up selling those F-16s to Egypt. By the way, on a sad note, I wanna just mention this something that has just been in our lives forever, as far as you go, John, and been for my life for a very long time, since the late 70s. The inventor of this device right here,
Doug Engelbart.
Doug Engelbart, who invented the mouse, did pass away. So Doug, thank you very much for what you've given all of us. We appreciate it. We wish the best to the family, and a sad passing note that the inventor of the mouse actually passed away.
Well, I was going to say, I actually have the TechCrunch article open about it.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from him that I thought was interesting, at least a little bit. It said, "I first started making notes for the mouse in 1961. At the time, a popular device for pointing on screen was a light pen, which had come out in the radar program during the war."
Interesting. Well, you know, one of the things that most of the mice that we have today, and this is a wireless mouse that I have to show you here, have a cord that comes out the top, actually like our high-end tech mouse, but he originally had his cable coming out the back.
It was a one button square mouse. Had one of those red drop button.
Yeah, and let's see who's calling. Hi, this is Rob. Who do I have there?
Hello, you're watching Opinion versus Opinion.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? You have to turn your sound off of your computer. Turn the sound off of your computer and just listen to us through the phone. Can you do that?
Hello?
Hello?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So can you hear us?
Well, barely. You
Barely.
sound very weak.
Very. Okay, very weak. Any better? Well, try to tell me. You called for a reason. Who do I have on the phone?
This is your buddy Billy.
Hey, Billy. I actually had a thought about you today.
Hopefully it was a good thought.
I hope it wasn't a four-letter thought, but that's okay.
No, it was not. It was not. It was in conversation with your dear wife, but that's for another day. We won't do it on the air. So what's up, Billy? What do you got to say for yourself today?
Actually, I just called in to find out what was going on, because I thought the discussion topics were quite interesting today.
Yeah, well, they are. And what Billy's talking about, everybody, is that an article that I read that started out with saying that, you live in a country founded by geniuses, but run by idiots. And I think we could all agree on things. I named a few examples, such as you can get arrested for hunting or fishing without a license, but not for being in the country illegally.
Well, I want to ask a question. Does it, when you say run by idiots, you're saying people of all parties then, not just single?
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Everybody sitting up in that little domes of theirs are idiots. What do you think, Billy? Are they idiots?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Because I agree with every point you made. Excuse me.
Don't die on me on the air. That wouldn't be good.
Sorry, a little pepper. I agree with your point. Is quite simply this: is you have people that can do a multiple amount of things legally, yet they cannot. Rob, I'm going to have to stop right now because I got another call that I got to take.
Okay, Billy, I'll tell you what. If you want to call back in, please do so. And thank you for calling.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Well, if you want, I don't know if you want to continue.
Yeah,
on
let's
there.
go ahead and continue with this.
I've got a couple of more stories.
All right. Well, let me finish with what I was talking here. What Billy is talking about is that. Excuse me. I'm sorry. That was inappropriate. I had to take a look at my screen for a moment. What Billy is talking about are some of the things that I named about the fact that our country was founded by geniuses, but is run by idiots. And a couple of examples that I came up with. School children have to get parents' permission to go on a field trip or take an aspirin in school, but not to get an abortion or the morning after pill. And we had a discussion about a month ago or so about the whole abortion pill issue, so that's true. We have to show identification to board an airplane, to cash a check, to check out a library book, but in many states, no ID to vote. You just walk in and vote. You don't need any ID. That's one of the things in California that drives me crazy. We have absolutely no idea who's truly voting and not, because they don't have to show ID.
I think my favorite one, and I'm not sure if it's in the article, but if you have dual citizenship and say you live in France, the money you make in France, you still owe taxes in America for it.
That's probably true. So that'll teach you to have dual citizenship. We have politicians who want to ban law-abiding citizens from owning guns, but give fighter jets to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Funny, I was talking about that earlier, wasn't I? And they want to give weapons to the resistance in Syria that beheads opponents and eats their hearts. What the hell is going on with us? They're idiots. We're run by idiots. Here's the one. This is the one I like, and I'm in my situation here. You can buy two 16-ounce sodas, but not one 24-ounce at a time. How about that? Here's my ode to Bloomberg in New York, and here's my 24-ounce soda, and thank you very much. It's very, very adult beveraged here. Very good. Thank you very much.
Adult
Ben.
beverage fire spiked.
I don't know. I'm not going to tell you.
Am I going to have to?
You might have to
censor you a little.
You might have to get me a taxi home, is what they're saying. But no. Anyway, Billy started us out with the whole idea of the fact that it just seems to be no brains and no sense in a lot of the stuff that's going on in the capitals of all the states, and there's so many examples of it. I just named a few. Give us a call. Name some of your own. There's plenty there.
So you might want to give out the phone number just in case, too?
530-621-1210. That's 530-621-1210. As you see on our screen, it is there. So, Jonathan, what do you got for a story? Because there's so many things to talk about today.
Well, my favorite one is Magpul Industries in Colorado. They're actually moving because of the law, which goes into July 1st. So it's already in. A couple of days ago, Magpul donated 20,000 high-capacity magazines to a...
Go ahead. Hi, caller. You're on with Rob and John. Who do we have?
Hello, Rob. This is Billy.
Okay.
I was able to resolve my issue on the other line and come back to you.
Okay, good. We're going to get... Jonathan was talking about Magpul, but we'll get back to you. Now, we were talking about the idiots in all their white domes in there, Billy. What do you think? I named a few, and the one that's the most pertinent at this moment happens to be the coup that's going on in Egypt, where we have politicians who want to ban law-abiding citizens from owning guns, but give fighter jets to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and also want to give weapons to the resistance in Syria that beheads opponents and eats their hearts. Wonderful, huh? What a country. That's your cue, Billy.
Well, the problem I have with this whole situation is there's obviously people aren't paying attention to what's going on.
Or they simply don't care. Maybe if you can hear me through the phone, turn your computer speakers down. Might be easier.
I think also, I don't know if it's fair to say people don't care or people aren't paying attention. Well, I definitely think that that's true. I think it's more that people just don't have time with the economy the way it is. They're working, they have jobs. I don't think everybody has time to really follow everything just because they physically can't.
Well, I think if you look at and Billy, back me up on this. If you look at the population of a state and the percentage of people that actually vote, it's less than 50%. What do you think, Billy? Does that sound about right? Billy, you there? Hello, Billy. Earth to Billy. I think he hung up on me.
Ooh, that's not good.
I'm sorry, Billy. So anyway, the point is that your point... Okay, we're going to try this again. Is this Billy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Billy.
Okay.
I'm having an interface problem between the computer and my telephone.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, can you turn your speakers down on your computer?
Let me try. How's that?
That's better. See, that way maybe you can hear me live a little bit more and we don't get such a delay.
Not a problem.
There you go. Okay.
Not a problem.
So,
I agree with you. I don't think that people are paying attention to what's going on from the perspective that we have situations going on and in this country, and I think on your website you talk about the issues of people are being pulled over, or people are being accosted about hunting licenses and fishing licenses. But Laura, let's not discuss the issue about the fact that you're in this country illegally.
Exactly.
Because now that's another whole political scenario that people want to get into. And I'm going to give you an example of political correctness run absolutely positively amok. All right, and I'm going to put the state of California Highway Patrol on report here.
Okay.
Last year there was in a newspaper. I'm a commercial driver for those of you who don't know me. I got to my in-laws' place on a Thursday evening, and my mother-in-law met me at the door with a newspaper article. And there was a truck that came over the San Mateo Bridge it went off the roadside and crashed onto a frontage road very near a hazardous materials locker, right near the watershed and right on the water. CHP showed up, and of course they did their due diligence and were taking care of business and so on and so forth, made certain the driver was fine and so on and so forth, and told him to sit here and we will get to you as soon as we resolve the wreck.
Okay.
Well, they get to this point, okay, we resolved the wreck, and they start looking for this guy. Well, lo and behold, the guy has disappeared. Let's say, for political correctness reasons, he was not an English-speaking individual.
So he probably did not have his commercial license.
As I continue, you will appreciate the fact that A, he did not have a commercial license that they could identify, because the CHP officer, being politically correct, did not put him in a confined space, i.e., his patrol car.
Right.
So when they went looking for him, they could not find him. They knew he could not speak English very well. Okay.
Yeah.
When they started looking into the background of the vehicle, they discovered that it had not been licensed in the state of California for over 3 years. It had not been registered in the state of California in over 3 years. And there had been no insurance on it in excess of over 3 years. And the individual who sold the truck last that they could trace did not do proper due diligence, but he just turned the paperwork over to Department of Motor Vehicles and said, well, here, this is the person I sold the truck to, and he paid the fees and so on and so forth. And Department of Motor Vehicles said, well, that's fine with us. He's paid his fees, and they moved on down the road. The realities in life are, it cost the citizens of the state of California an inordinate amount of money.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
of the fact that it was not a legal driver,
Right.
and they had to recover the expenses of hauling everything off and trying to deal with things appropriately. And it would have been very simple if the highway patrol officer had taken the person, and we are going to secure you for your own sake. We're going to put you in our vehicle, put him in his car, which, believe me, if this individual had been an English-speaking individual, they would have been locked up in the back of the guy's car, and the issue would have been resolved. But we have two separate issues here.
Right.
We have issues of, if you are an English-speaking individual, you have one set of rules. If you are a non-English-speaking individual, you are given a benefit that no English-speaking person is given the benefit of.
So do you think this is a mandate from higher ups to handle people like that, or do you think that was just this particular officer's way of handling it?
It is my personal opinion that it is not a mandate from higher ups. I think what it is an observation from the average Joe Schmuckatelli patrolman in every sense of law enforcement, from top to bottom. Do we really want to create a problem? And they see what happens, that the non-English speaking people are giving them the benefit of the doubt that nobody else is given the benefit of the doubt of, and they don't want to spend the rest of their life in court trying to resolve an issue. And let me divulge here for just a second. As I look out my front door of my house, I look across at a retired Fish and Game official. 2 weeks before he was retired, he got a radio call that said, we have a problem with gill netting on a particular river. He shut his radio off. And he's relating this story to me a month or so after the fact. And I said, well, why did you do that? And he said, because let me tell you what's going to happen. There were accusations of in excess of 2,000 carcasses on this river from gill netting.
Right.
And every last one of these individuals were non-English speaking individuals.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
And he says, what's going to happen? There's 20 or 25 of them involved in this situation. They are all going to request lawyers. They are all going to request separate interpreters. He said, I will not be permitted to retire until this case is adjudicated.
No.
Because I want to retire. I am not going to spend the next 6 to 8 months in court over something that should never happen in the first place. Okay? To make a long story short, everything he said transpired.
Right. Right.
There were 20 to 25 people that were adjudicated to be found guilty. They were charged a $25 a person fine, which didn't even cover the fuel economy to get the interpreter out of San Francisco
Right.
to get up here. And he said, why would I even be willing to put myself through that situation?
Right. Right.
It,
Well,
this
you know,
is exactly what's transpiring straight across the board in
Right.
the state of California. There are people who are so concerned about other people's rights, they are not considering common sense.
Absolutely, and I can understand this guy's concern. I mean, because we know how these cases go, and you said it very succinctly. And that's been the situation with abalone and the non-English speaking people going and diving and taking these abalone beds and stripping them naked, and we have a very serious problem with that. And again, they pinpoint most of it down to poaching, obviously, and it's costing not only our tax dollars, but it also is hurting our wildlife. It's polluting our oceans. They don't follow any laws or regulations. They don't pay the taxes. They don't, they don't do anything but take from us. They're the takers. They're not the givers.
I agree with that. They are takers. They are not contributing anything to our society. And when I use the term non-English speaking people, I'm not talking about any particular group, because the two particular situations that I spoke about, one was of one ethnic background, one was another ethnic background.
Right.
Okay?
Right. I agree with you.
They haven't bought onto the system here.
Well, they feel if they're illegal in the country anyway, at that point they're pretty much open to do anything that they want. And on the fish and game side, as far as taking wildlife and such, the odds of getting caught are pretty slim. It takes a lot of work for our wardens that are unmanned, underpowered, to be able to go ahead and enforce, unfortunately, these laws on the bigger poachers, and they go for the low-hanging fruit. And you know what I mean about that? It's the poor schmuck fisherman out there who's just, trying to have a little bit of relaxation, catch some catfish, has a worm on his hook, but didn't clip his fishing license to his vest. Much easier to write that ticket than spend a lot of time investigating poachers.
But, actually, Rob, my biggest complaint about the entire situation is quite simply this. You and I and every person who is a voter in the state of California votes for judges. But unfortunately, we are not paying any attention to what the judges in the state of California are doing as it comes to fish and game laws.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And it would be very simple to solve 90% of the fish and game problems by the fact that if they published what judges allowed to happen as it relates to inadequate fines and inadequate prosecution, and what it actually costs to prosecute a case. If it costs $8,000 to bring somebody up from San Francisco to be an interpreter and to provide a lawyer for those individuals, you would think that when they are found guilty, that they would be responsible to pay not only that, but a reasonable fine.
Yeah. Well,
because Lord knows that certainly happened to us, quote, English-speaking people of this portion of the state. But judges are seen to, as it relates to fish and game, it's really a harmless problem. It's only harmless if it's really of inconsequential issues. But when you're talking about the cost to prosecute something of this magnitude, we're talking, in the case that I used about the fish and game issue here in the area where I live, 20 people, 20 interpreters, 20 lawyers, transportation time. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to prosecute that,
Right.
and the state of California recuperated $1,000 or $2,000.
Well,
At the
here's
most.
That's absolutely criminal.
here's
Absolutely criminal.
It is.
here's my question. How much would have it cost for an English speaker? Would it have still been a $25 fine?
You don't need an interpreter, and I'm going to
that's
step
not
back.
fair.
You're right. I'm going to step back for a minute. Billy, you may not know this, but I actually sat on the El Dorado County Fish and Game Commission for about 10 years. And one of the things we took on as our job was to educate the judges that are adjudicating these fish and game violations. Because in all honesty, many of these judges were not sportsmen, didn't understand the effect on the game, didn't really understand how bad the situation was, and they were just giving minimal fines. They didn't understand it. And so we went around and actually went to the judges, the different judges, and sat down with them and talked to them about it and showed them presentations and had the biologists come around and talk about what's happening so that the judges are educated enough to understand what they have to charge on fines, because the judges are able to pretty much do what they want on the fines that they levy. And in most cases, because judges aren't educated enough on fish and wildlife issues, they give low bails or whatever it may be. And so you're right, it's the judges. We have to keep the judges educated because too many of them are not.
My biggest problem with the judges is, and I won't speak out of this area here, because the area, and you know where I live.
Sure.
The area that I live in, it is considered, when you draw a wildlife case, most of the judges in this arena here find that demeaning and unimportant, and therefore they feel it is a waste of their time. They would rather be dealing with parking tickets than fish and game. That's how important fish and game has been made,
Right.
In this area here.
Right.
Now, and I would encourage people to take a look. Those people who are concerned, I would encourage them to take a look at every jurisdiction and consider what the judges are dealing with in every county, every jurisdiction. And I would encourage you to look very seriously at it. And what I would think you will find is the judges find fish and game violations to be beneath them and not worthy of their time. Yet, if you take a look at what happens in the media, don't cut down a redwood. Don't kill a fish, because you will have every environmental group on the planet after you.
Right.
Yet nobody wants to discuss why aren't our judges giving the credibility and the importance that the public obviously gives to these people,
Right.
to these laws.
Right.
Yet they continue to reelect these fine, upstanding individuals of jurisprudence who are obviously not doing their job and find that wildlife issues are not important to them.
Right.
But here we are.
Yeah, well, the only thing I can say is that each county in California has a fish and game commission. Some of them are just strictly the Board of Supervisors that hold that position as well. And they need to take the time to talk to the judges in their areas about these issues, and because it made a big difference in El Dorado County, I can tell you that. Fines doubled. The judges finally took it serious and didn't look at it like it was beneath them. They understand it, and hopefully that will happen in more areas in California, and hopefully particularly in your area, Billy, because you're in such a nice area there. It'd be a shame to not have these poachers and people that do things illegally not fined properly. Or incarcerated.
See, this is what happens when you downplay sportsmen, because a lot of the hunting tags, a lot of the stuff that goes to sportsmen goes to helping wildlife and fund a lot of things.
Absolutely.
When you discourage sportsmen, hunters, fishing, whatever, you're losing the knowledge base of what overhunting, overfishing, what it does to the environment.
Well, basically, they don't want us hunting. That was one of the bills in California that fortunately at this time is in the suspense file, was they wanted any ammunition used for hunting to be non-lead based. In other words, no lead in hunting ammunition. There isn't a whole lot left. Fish. What am I looking for? Waterfowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've
Steel
had a
shot.
bunch. You have to use steel. Well, it's the same idea. They wanted centerfire and rimfire ammunition to be used on wildlife that is non-lead. Well, if you start to look at armor-piercing laws in the state of California, there isn't much that we could, that would literally shut down all hunting in California. So
you could probably have an outer shell of a harder metal, and you'd have to find some sort of softer material, but it would still be armor piercing.
Can you imagine what the expense would be? It would put, again, it's just another opportunity to stop hunting, because we all know that there are an awful lot of people out there that don't agree with the ability for you and I to go out and hunt.
Well, here's
or fish or whatever.
Well, it's the same thing. I was part of the construction industry for a long time, and it's the same thing with forest management. Proper forest management is selective forestry, cleaning up the forest floor, removing trees, actually maintaining the forest to actually promote growth, helps stop fires, produces a healthy environment when you actually go there and manage it properly. And a lot of people want this laissez-faire way of doing it, and you get fires, you get unhealthy livestock. It's the same thing. Absolutely.
When you get into the timber industry, and again, Billy's up in that area where there was a lot of timber. This is a catchphrase here. They've literally stopped the ability for us to harvest the trees, to go in and clear the slash around the trees, to keep the fire temperatures down. Believe it or not, a tree can survive a fire as long as the temperatures don't rise too high, and that's by maintaining the forests and clearing the slash and debris around it. And then the other problem is they're not letting the loggers go in and harvest after a fire. Oh no, you can't do that. I
still think there's the connotation of the early, late 1900s of when they would just take a forest and clear cut it. And with today's technology and today's understanding of forest management, you can clear cut sections and actually improve the health of the forest.
Oh, absolutely. They absolutely can do it. And don't forget, it's a renewable resource. It's one of the few things that renews itself. They go behind and they plant, and in 20, 30 years we've got the lumber back again. And I don't understand this whole situation with
Rob, in this neck of the woods up where I live, it was very common practices for the Indian tribes in the earlier days to set fire to the floor of the forest to burn off all the slash and so forth,
right?
So that the forest fires did not get huge and create major damage.
Exactly.
And it was a situation where they were being proactive.
Yep.
In the way they did things.
Yep, the Indians knew. They knew how to keep that lumber.
That's exactly right. They knew how to keep the damage down to a minimum. One of the major problems we're dealing with today, as it deals with the California Air Resources Board and the Fish and Game Advisory Commissions, they are not elected positions. They are appointed.
Right.
So people who are appointing these people, they are appointing their buddies.
Right.
Okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So instead of getting new ideas, fresh ideas, people who actually know what the heck they're talking about. People are being appointed who are going along with the same nonsense thinking that the California Air Resources Board is dealing with.
Right, yeah.
And I use the California Air Resources Board as an example. I can use the Humboldt County Fish and Game Advisory Commission. Oh, heavens, I didn't mean to bespeak poorly of the area that I live, but the only way you get on there is if you know somebody.
Right.
And you get appointed. But certainly there are very few people that are on any of these commissions that you're talking about that are actually qualified. There may be one or two, but it's more a matter of, are you going to go along with us there, buddy, or are we going to keep you off?
It's a lot of political payback, you know.
There's 90% of it, in my humble opinion, is political payback.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part about it, because what's actually happening is the environment is suffering, the citizens of the state of California are suffering, and we're not taking care of business as it should be.
Well, I think in California, at least California, there's two different viewpoints on taking care of the environment. There's especially when it comes to hunting, fishing, that type of thing, and logging industry, there's the more laissez-faire. Just leave it alone, the environment will take care of itself, versus that we need to actually help the forest, because we've enclosed in the environment so much that we need to help it to remove the slash, to trim down animal numbers,
Right.
I think those are the two competing viewpoints.
Right. Well, I think we got this part in pretty good. Billy, I want to thank you for calling in and joining in the discussion. We're going to keep on going here, and you have a good rest of your day. And once again, thanks for calling.
You bet.
Okay, take care.
Nice talking to you.
Bye-bye.
The thing I wanted to...
Hi, you're on with Rob and John.
Hey, Rob?
Yep.
I can't
This is
hear
Rob.
you here.
Well, you got to make sure that your speakers are off on your computer, just like
They are. I'm on my landline here. Let me
Okay.
just try.
Well, I'm here. I can hear you just fine.
Okay, all right. Well, with that in mind. Hey, have you seen these ads running regarding the HSUS, how much they raise every year and how much they spend on wildlife and shelters?
You know, I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you what, God bless them. A lot of us talk about what the politicians, what the judges are doing, what the Air Resources Board or whatever is doing. But you know what? We don't count.
Yeah.
You and I don't count.
So when you go HSUS, what the initials stand for?
Humane Society of the United States.
Okay. All right.
Which is probably the most anti-wildlife organization on the planet. And if you look at the B for the last couple of weeks, a full-page ad sponsored by the National Shooting Sports Foundation has pointed out that organization raises over $200 million a year by running ads on late-night TV showing poor kittens and puppies being abused.
Right.
And 0.03% of their budget is spent on either animal shelters or helping animals.
Jeez. What?
All of the rest of it is for fundraising and for salaries. And there are Born Free, Defenders of Wildlife. There's many of these organizations out there, and they run these ads and they hold these rallies and they go into schools and they show poor little animals or cows being poked or whatever. They get emotions up and people send money.
Right.
And then they go down to the legislature and they propose, for example, bans on lead ammunition.
Right.
Or bans on this, bans on that.
Yeah.
But that's all they do.
Yeah.
They don't actually do anything for the animals. And people are sending in money thinking that's what is happening. And God bless them, but National Shooting Sports is now running full-page ads, and I've seen them on TV and in the paper, exposing this.
Good.
And frankly, that is what needs to be done. I mean, when you have a call-in show, when you have a bunch of guys at the range, I mean, I think, you know, I sponsored a bill in the state, SB 1179, up for free hunting days.
Right.
And you had all sorts of people against hunting. Now, as I was working my way through that process, and it was a multi-year process, I would see the pro organizations sending out requests to their members to call, email, fax, support this bill.
Right.
Now, since I was the sponsor of the bill, right, I got to see copies
Sure.
of the letters and the emails and how many calls came in. And it was absurd. I
Yeah.
didn't need one hand
Wow.
to count them all. Take every member of the NRA, just take the Rod and Gun Club for El Dorado County.
Yeah.
I should get more than one hand.
Yeah, I would think so.
You know,
I would
never
think so.
mind how many members we have.
Yeah.
But when you get the other groups, and they take and they Facebook and they Twitter, and you know, I was present at many of the hearings here in our county locally as well as others, where they had, say, BLM lands, and when they had hearings of are they going to have water or picnics, 6 people showed up. When they had hearings of saying are we going to allow hunting, it was 300.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
know.
Those are the people, unfortunately, the decision was made on a vote. And the judges are elected on a vote.
Right.
And the legislators are elected on a vote.
Right. Right.
And if we, as those hunters or smokers or ATV riders or motorcycle riders or a certain name here, are not visible to the legislature, then it's our fault.
Oh, absolutely. If you're going to champion an idea, but yet not do the work that it need, you know as well as I do how much work it takes, you know, to lobby and to get people to do what, you know, we want them to do, and in this atmosphere and tight budgets, it just seems like, you know, everybody picks a little area that they want to give, and you know, your whole statement on HSUS, you know, even I didn't understand the initials on this, and I haven't really looked into it either. So, Robert, thank goodness there's people like you out there that are willing to watch what's going on and help educate people.
You know what? Go to the NSSF, National Shooting Sports
Yeah.
Foundation.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to it. But I'm going to guess, I know the organization, they're going to have something on their ads. And they're going to be exposing this. And it's a great organization. It's a great educational organization. But I'm relatively certain they're going to have a recap of this. And when you see how much they raise and what it's spent towards, it is just scary.
Yeah.
I mean, Safari Club International has about 60,000 members nationwide.
Right.
NRA is now up to, what, 5 million, which
Yeah.
is an all-time record.
if not more.
Right.
But even that is dwarfed by what's raised by the Sierra Club and the Humane Society of the U.S. and
Yeah.
Defenders of Wildlife. And people are giving to that thinking they're actually defending wildlife or the outdoors
Right.
or animals. And take a look at what they're spending their money on. They're spending it on lobbying and bans on hunting and bans on access to the outdoors, and no one understands that.
Right.
I still think it comes down to one thing: is we're getting away from, like, you know, even 40 years ago when my dad was a kid. Is you had people. It was being nice.
Yes, you were.
You know, people who were hunting and fishing, and people who understood how to maintain the environment. You're getting away from that. Instead, you're running on feel-good policies to let the little deer and the little this do their own thing, when you realize when you have an overpopulation, you can kill off the entire population if they get sick.
Well, you know, what's happened is, as a society, hunting and fishing and outdoorsmanship is not something that is taught. Even in the scouts, you know, in the cities, in the 60s, when I grew up, you know, scouting was still part of being in the outdoors, backpacking, learning to, you know, to survive out in the outdoors, learning to manage wildlife and everything else like that. I don't think any of that's taught anymore.
Well, for example, me, I'm not a big outdoors guy, never really have, but I but because I've been around it, I understand, what hunting, the benefits are. I understand management of forest. I understand all this stuff because it's stuff that involved in the part of things I'm interested in.
Right.
And I understand it because I know people are passionate about it, and you would think that some of that would rub off on non-gun people or outdoorsy people, but it just doesn't.
See, the problem we have is these people, first of all, they think it's their land instead of our lands. We have law enforcement. Let's just take El Dorado County National Forest. We had a change in policy on the federal level where law enforcement for the National Forest was being controlled out of San Francisco instead of the local main law enforcement officer being in the ranger district that he is in charge of. And we have these people carrying guns and wearing stars and chasing people out of the forest, saying, "No, that's not your forest. It's our forest, and we don't want you in there. It's non-use instead of wise use."
It's permission-based policing.
Well, they just don't want you in there.
Well, it's like, why are you here? What are you doing? Why are you in here? Why are you doing this? It's like needing permission from the government to change a water heater.
Well, God bless our Sheriff Jon Discuss. I mean, he stood up and said, "You know what, federal government, United States Forest Service, I'm going to do what I can to have you taken away your ability to arrest or write a ticket to anybody in my area." And he stood up to him. And you know what? I know he's taken a hit. I've been reading the letters to the editors, and there's some people who don't understand why he did that. But he had to bring an attention to the fact that there were some overzealous law enforcement people chasing people out of their lands and not allowing them to do what is legally to do. Mm-hmm. It's scaring people. I had people tell me that I'm never going back out there again. They scared the hell out of me, or wrote me a ticket for being 1 foot over the line, being off the road, or whatever it may be. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Well, you started a good one with that one, Robert. Thank you.
Yep. I just to close out there. Thank God for Jon Discuss and the very, very few.
Yes.
That are like him.
Absolutely.
But the point is, especially today, social media and how people are communicating, if we're not going to be heard in numbers, then we're just simply going to disappear. Have you seen the ads on TV with, the lady in the shopping cart saying the government shouldn't tell us what to buy, how to shop?
Right.
Well, you know what? There were the gun owners and the smokers and the ATV riders and the fishermen and the loggers. They've taken down one group at a time.
Yep.
And they're doing exactly the same thing to the soft drink industry right now.
That's right.
But it was small. If you put all those guys together and said, we're not going to accept that, because they all had the same issue.
Yeah.
Being told what to do.
Well, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
They were picked off piece by piece by piece.
It's because people didn't like them. People didn't like ATVs. People didn't like guns. And they were fine with that until it came to what they liked.
Had.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'll tell you, the guys that want to take things away, they're unified.
Absolutely.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
They're unified. So until we figure that out, and maybe we won't.
Well, I look back at what's happening to California in the gun laws and the legislation that's being passed. It's absolutely no common sense whatsoever in the majority of these so-called, safe gun laws. They're anti-gun laws is what they are. And, people are going, oh, that's good. I mean, we've got to stop the murders in Oakland, and we have to stop the Compton murders and all that.
There's a benefit of this happening is you get all these people, like the SAFE Act in New York. Carr, right? The gun manufacturer also owns Thompson Auto Ordnance.
Right.
Is moving from New York.
Sure.
Is moving out of New York.
Well, you started
Colorado.
Magpul.
It's an $85 million business a year. They're moving. And you have Colorado legislatures going, no, move. And Magpul's like, you don't get the people who our business serves. They're loyal. We move or we go out of business. And I think that's... Beretta is going to move from where there. You have all these businesses.
Out of Connecticut, right?
And I think once these people in the government realize that they're losing billions of dollars of generated revenue, that I think they're going to go, oh, we've got to I think that might happen because you're
You know
hitting
what?
what they care about the
won't do
most.
it unless we point it out.
Right.
Just like NSF, National Shooting Sports, is actually doing now
Actually
to
pointing
the
out.
masses.
Yeah.
I've got to jump off right now, but thanks
Okay,
a lot
Robert.
for the opportunity to call in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for calling.
Have a good day, Robert.
All right.
The thing I wanted to say is so. Excuse me. In Colorado, they banned high-capacity magazines, which high capacity apparently is anything over 30 rounds. It's not really high capacity, but so what they did
now it's 10 rounds.
Yeah, a high capacity 10-round magazine. So what Magpul did, they threw a party. They gave 20,000 high capacity magazines to a June 29th gun rally in Glendale, Colorado, for the purpose of raising money and recall of two state senators, John Morris and Angela Giron, it's Giron.
Yeah.
Basically what they're doing is they threw a last hurrah. You know, it was, you're banning these, so before it goes away, we're giving $20,000. We're giving 20,000 high capacity 30-round PMags.
Yeah. That was really something. That was a statement that they made. And you know, and maybe that's what it takes, a little bit of economic knowledge. That these legislators, they don't think about all the jobs that are lost. You know, what legislator is going to run on a ballot saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to help you lose jobs in my district. Make sure you vote for me because I'm going to make sure that those jobs leave. And that's what's happening.
I wish I saved it. There was that New York, there was a Washington Post, I think it was, or something like that, was talking about car. They were going to expand. So instead, they're literally right over the border of Philadelphia or whatever exactly they said. They were mentioning how they're going to add 80 to 100 jobs. And the guy was complaining, saying, well, they should have done it here. And the car guy was saying,
yeah,
why?
Right.
When if I expand now and and overnight the laws change with no discussion, no talks, just overnight it's banned. I said, I can't risk my business here.
No. Yeah, and that makes sense on an economic level. And these people have to stop this knee-jerk reaction to everything. The guns, again, as we've always said, they're not the problem, okay? It's the idiots that are mentally ill and have issues that ruin it for everybody else, and so you have to tell the world how to live. You got to a legislator has to tell you how to wipe your ass, what to buy, what to smoke, what to drink, how much of everything.
Here's where
I'm getting tired of the invasion of you telling me everything that I got to do.
Well, here's where I disagree with a little bit. Is it stupid people? In reality, yes, but I think what it is, it's a cultural thing. For example, the urban youth, when you've got bad planning, poor economic environment, you have a society that is born for violence. When you have parts and cities and all that, and if you take a look at it, it's generally the areas that have high crime and and anti-gun. You're breeding violence because you're not letting people succeed. Instead, you're keeping them down. And I wonder if you actually started pumping money into the inner cities and in the more violent places, trying to change the culture. Because it's a cultural thing that's breeding that violence. It's not the gun. The gun is a tool. I mean, if they banned guns, I could still kill you with knives, shovel, cars, so I think that's what it comes down to.
First of all, criminals don't pay attention to laws anyway. Okay,
yes, but
they don't go into a gun store and do the paperwork and whatever waiting period is. They just don't. There's none of that.
But that's why I think if you put money, if you actually see where the violence is happening, where the most crime, you actually look at it and you ask, why are these people being killed? Why? Not with what, why? What is the reason? I think if you find that reason, and maybe it's just because they're stupid, maybe it's because it's easier for them to sell drugs in the street, make more money. I think that's what it comes down to.
Actually it. I heard an interview with a young fellow who was selling drugs, and he did an interview with this reporter, and basically the reporter said, hey, you can get a job at McDonald's or Walmart or whatever maybe. And he looked at the guy and he says, I make $3,000 a week selling drugs. Why would I want to go flip burgers? So we have a deeper issue going on here. I mean, we have an economic issue that is so strong and so steeped in it, and then the drugs are so addictive and so dangerous today that it's not going to be an easy change.
We're patching over. It's kind of like the roads. We're putting crap patches over a big problem.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny. I was listening to don't know if any of you had some time, but listening to the Zimmerman, Anthony Zimmerman case, that gentleman who shot Trayvon Martin, who died. It's kind of interesting if you listen to they had a firearms expert on there. I'm not being prejudiced in any way, but she had no, as far as I'm concerned, there was no authority in her ability to truly demonstrate how the firearm worked and what it was all about. I don't know who chose her, but something interesting happened. Angelina Corey, she was indicted for falsifying arrest warrant and complaints, and she is the Zimmerman prosecutor. Florida State's Attorney Angela Corey, who brought the charges against George Zimmerman that started the political show trial that is going on right now, has been indicted by a citizens' grand jury for allegedly falsifying the arrest warrant and complaint against George Zimmerman that started the charade. The arrest and complaint led to Corey bringing a second-degree murder charge against Zimmerman. So here again, now, you had a group of people that they weren't going to let due process do its job and do what it needed to do. And, initially he wasn't arrested because it looked like he was defending his life.
My favorite the whole thing, the argument was, it was a white guy killing. Was he a young black guy who he killed?
Yeah, it was a young black
I love
man.
the fact that said, oh, a white guy killed it, and later on you heard out, oh, he's Hispanic. Well, he's still white. That was the race card in this was my favorite part of the story, because they were blaming it on, oh, it's the white guy taking on the black guy, when they realize it was a young thug. And yeah, I think Zimmerman kind of overstepped his bounds.
And I don't want to.
What do you, I think I think race plays a lot into this.
Well, maybe it does. Yes, maybe it does. But in this situation, I think we've got a guy who got overzealous. He wanted to play. I think he actually wanted to be a cop, and he wanted to play cop, and he got himself in trouble. And he didn't do what he was told to do. And I think was he defending his life? I wasn't there to see if he was in a fight and if this other guy was beating him to death. I have no way of knowing it.
I think he kind of failed at the first thing of self-defense, which,
Well, the fact is, he should have reported it and withdraw.
Exactly.
You report and withdraw. That's what it should have been, and none of this would have happened. And in this case, this guy screwed up as far as I'm concerned. Does he deserve whatever they're charging him with? I don't know. I'm not on the jury, and I'm not going to say. All I know is that, unfortunately, a young man was killed, and this gentleman's life has been ruined forever because of a bad decision. So
it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening to him, because I know right now it seems like, at least via the news, it seems like that the case is unraveling. If he's found guilty, I'll be surprised, just because it seems like the cluster that the OJ trial was.
Yeah, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't know in Florida at all on how this works. If they can drop it down to a lesser charge now that they're charging him with murder, if they could drop it down to a lesser charge of manslaughter or something, and I don't know what's going on.
I
don't
wonder
know
if they'd have to drop it and
deal.
retry.
I don't know.
That is if you can do that.
But it's going to be interesting to see how due process works in this one, and it would be interesting to see if he is found not guilty. Are we going to have riots in the street? We're going to have cars burning, riots happening, just that happened before, similar kind of thing. I don't know.
You mean with what's his name, Rodney King?
Yeah,
you think
with Rodney
King style riots?
Yeah, I'm wondering. Is it possible?
I don't know.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it is. I think it's possible. I think if he is found not guilty on these things, I think you can watch for that to happen. Do you know what? We're rounding up. We did an hour here. Boy, can you believe that? That went a long way. I want to thank our callers. It's because of our callers that we were able to put on a great show today. 4 o'clock might be the perfect time for us to do these shows. Just as a quick reminder, I thought it was really interesting that under the Obamacare employer mandate has been delayed. We all know that Nancy Pelosi stepped up on the thing and said, we got to pass this thing right now because people are dying. Well, guess what? The big part that they wanted is not going to happen next year. It's been postponed another year. Don't you just love liars? I just love them. They're liars. Hey, you know what? This is Rob Charney with Jonathan Charney. This is Old Guy Tech TV News 44. Thanks for watching Opinion versus Opinion. We'll see you next time.
Bye.